Kiddushin Daf Gimel continues the Gemara's analysis of our last Mishnah, where we had been discussing the halachos of an Eved Kenani, how he's kind of himself, and how others are kind of him, that meaning how he can be sold to others, and how the kinyan works, and how he can achieve his freedom by being kind of himself. So in our last Mishnah, we saw two opinions about shtar and kesef. Rabbi Meir's opinion is the first one that the Gemara analyzes. Rabbi Meir says he can be koneh himself through kesef only if it's someone else's money, which the Gemara understands means he can't own his own money, and he can be koneh himself through shtar only if he does it himself. So the Gemara's implication, the Gemara assumes that this is specific, that his money doesn't work if it's his own, like we said, because he can't own his own money, and shtar doesn't work if it's someone else's, because the shtar has to be his own. So the Gemara wants to know why not? Why can't it work for the shtar to be given to someone else who's koneh the shtar shechur for him, or the kinyan shtar on his behalf? So the Gemara understands a few possibilities as part of its question. The Gemara says maybe you'll say because the Eved doesn't know what's going on, and you can't be koneh the Eved's freedom without his agreement, because we have a rule, you cannot do something bad for the person without his knowledge and his agreement. And to go free, we've said, in other masachtas, is considered to be a chayv. He loses his truma. If his master is a kohen, he loses his ability to marry a shivcha if he's Yisrael, and therefore he doesn't want it necessarily, so you can't assume it. So therefore we have to be referring to where the Eved knows and is participating and he agrees. So now we understand that the reason why the money doesn't work if it's his own is because he can't own any money, but why shouldn't the shtar work if he's participating and agreeing? Why can't someone else be makabel the shtar for him? Says the Gemara, maybe you'll tell me that the Mishnah means he could even be makabel himself. And the Chiddush is, how does he have his own yad to be makabel shtar if his yad belongs to his master at the time that he's being makabel shtar shechar? So we have the concept of gitiv yad aban ka'achas, that he's makabel shtar and what the shtar means in the same instant. Maybe that's what we mean. Says the Gemara, that can be because we have a brayso that clearly says when we say that he's makabel shtar by himself, we mean only by himself and not through others. So again, why can others be makabel if he is involved and agrees? Someone gives two answers. Abaye says, really, we're talking about where he doesn't know and he doesn't agree. We asked, how does kesef work then? Because so Gemara says, kesef is different. And that's because what's happening is that the other person who's setting him free is buying him from his owner. He's buying his freedom. So if you're purchasing something, you don't have to have the agreement of what you're purchasing, and therefore kesef works to set him free. And the reason is, again, the way the Gemara phrases it is the kesef works to buy him, so the kesef works to free him. So the Gemara asks him that, well, shtar also works to buy him, so then why can't shtar also work to free him without the agreement? Why does Rabbi Meir say it's only ali de atzmai, only through him himself, that the shtar works to free him? So Gemara says it's a different shtar. The shtar that works to buy him is not the shtar that works to free him. So Gemara says it's also different money. Gemara says no, the money looks the same, but the shtar, the text of the shtar is different. It's not the same shtar. You cannot learn therefore from one to the other. Rava says, no, kesef and shtar are different for different reasons. Who's receiving it? The money that's setting him free is being received by the master. The master is not acting on his behalf. It's not on behalf of the Eved. He's setting him free because of his own interests. He's receiving money for him. That's why he sets him free. So that works without the shliach, without the Eved's participation, agreement, or involvement. However, the shtar is being given to someone else on behalf of the Eved. You can't do something on behalf of the Eved without his agreement. The Gemara now moves on to analyze the opinion of the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan said that freedom through kesef works through himself, through his own money, and through shtar works through someone else. So the Gemara again wants to understand this. So that the money worked on his own, I understand that's because the Rabbanan hold that a Eved does have ownership of things. He can own his own money, and therefore he can buy his own freedom. But why shouldn't it work through someone else? Why should it not be that someone else can give the money to set him free? Now, perhaps you want to say because we're talking about where he doesn't know about it, shalei midaite, so someone else can't buy his freedom. But that doesn't work because we're in the Rabbanan here, and the Rabbanan hold that it is a zechus for him, and therefore there's no problem of chavan l'adam shlei b'panav. It is good for him to be set free, and therefore someone else should be able to do it for him. So says Gemara, maybe you'll tell me that the Mishnah is not specific. The Mishnah says that he can do it on his own. It means to say that he can even do it on his own, but he can certainly do it through someone else's money as well, because Zachan Ladam Shai B'fanav. So then let's look at the next part where it says Shtar. Now, Shtar, therefore, if you want to learn that when I talked about Kesef, it means that they can both, him and someone else can do the Kesef. Shtar has to be only him, because if the Shtar is both, so then you're saying everybody can do everything. The Eved and someone else can do Shtar and the Kesef. Then the Mishnah should say much simpler. Everybody can do everything. Why are we saying specifically this one and that one? So obviously Shtar then is that only someone else can do Shtar. He can't do Shtar himself. But what logic would there be in that? Why shouldn't he not be able to be Mekabel's own Shtar? Now, perhaps to say that he has no Yad, but that's not true. We have the rule of Gita V'yada Bo'in Ke'achad, and therefore he should be able to be Mekabel's own Shtar. The Gemara answers, this must be the opinion of Rav Shimon ben Elazar. Rav Shimon ben Elazar does not hold of Gita V'yada Bo'in Ke'achad. And therefore, that's why Shtar only works through others and not through himself. So as the Gemara, in conclusion, there are three opinions. Rav Meir, the Chachamim, and Rav Shimon ben Elazar. Rav Meir holds Kesef and Shtar are both exclusive. Kesef is only through others. Shtar is only through him himself. The Rabbanan hold each work for each. Everybody can do Kesef, everybody can do Shtar. And Shimon ben Elazar says it's split. And Kesef can be done by everybody. And Shtar can only be done by Acherim and not by himself, because he doesn't hold the Gita V'yada Bo'in Ke'achad. The Gemara now goes a bit more deeply into this halacha of Gita V'yada Bo'in Ke'achad. Why does Rav Shimon ben Elazar hold that an Eved cannot be Mekabel his own get Shecher? So Gemara says, Rab explains, he learns it out of a get Isha. A get Isha, the husband puts the get in a property which is not his. He does not own his wife, and therefore he puts it in her hand. And therefore it's being removed from his rishos. To give a get shecher to an Eved also has to be removed from his rishos. However, since he does own the Eved cannot receive it, someone else has to receive it for him. So Marna asks, Rabba asks, Shimon ben Elazar, can an Eved Kanani be a shliach? Can he make a shliach, that is, to be mekabel the get for him? Do you say you learn from an Isha? Just like an Isha can make a shliach lekabbalah, and Eved Kanani can also make a shliach lekabbalah. La the Gezer Shava from Isha, and again, we're all learning these halachos from an Isha being mekabel get anyway. Or do you say, no, the Eved cannot make a shliach to do something that he can't do himself? If he can't be mekabel's own get, how does he give someone else the ability to be mekabel get for him? So the Gemara says that Rabbi himself answered the question. He said, no, the Gezer Shava Lola still applies here, and he can make someone else a shliach to be mekabel get shecher for him. So in the Atamar Zakasher, Vunabed of Rabbi Shua said, we see elsewhere in Shas the rule that someone cannot make a shliach to do something that he can't do himself. And we see that in a discussion about when Kohanim bring karbanas, on whose behalf are they acting? Are they a shliach of the Yisrael? He can't bring his own carbon in the Beis HaMikdash, so the shliach, the Kohanim are messengers for him approaching Gavaya, approaching Shemayim, bringing that carbon, or are they shluchim ki'ilu of the Torah, of Rachmana, and they are representing, and we, therefore, Yisraelim, are bringing the carbon to him because he is representing Gavaya. So on whose behalf is he acting? And we had said that he must be acting on behalf of Gavaya, because he can't be acting on behalf of Yisraelim, because the Yisraelim cannot bring their own karbanas. So therefore, they wouldn't be able to make a shliach to bring karbanas for them. Now, according to what you're telling me, that this is not true. You can make a shliach to be able to do something that you can't do yourself. You see, the Eved makes a shliach to be mekabel get that he can't be mekabel himself. So this logic that we said by Kohanim shouldn't be valid. Someone says, no, it's different. By Kohanim, it's not possible that they represent Yisraelim, but it is possible for an Eved to make shliach. And that's because Yisrael has zero shaychus to karbanos. He can't bring karbanos at all, and there's no way that a kohen can represent him. An Eved could sometimes be mekabel get shecher. He can't be mekabel get shecher from his own master, but he could be mekabel from someone else's master. So he could be a shliach. He is in the parsha of shlichus to be mekabel get shecher. He has shaychus to it. He just has a technicality that from his own master he can't. Like, for example, if he wants to be mekabel shliach for his friend, so if the friend is owned by a different master, it could be mekabel for him. If that friend is owned by his same master, he can't be mekabel for him, because he's not a yad different than his master's rishos. But what we still see is that he does have shaychus to it, and therefore he could make a shliach. Okay, now last sugya for the daf, the Gemara focuses on the concept of an eved having a kinyan of his own money. So we'd see in Mahalakis between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim, how could an eved be redeemed with money? Rabbi Meir said it cannot be his own money. It has to be someone else gives the money. And the Rabbanan had said he could have his own money. It has to be someone else's money that was given to him. And then he uses that, the eved himself uses that to be kind to himself with this money. So the Gemara is going to have three ways of explaining this machlokes, each with an increasingly higher level of narrowing the field as to what an eved can own or control in the monetary realm. So first thing I want to say, it's a simple machlokes, can an eved own money or not? As if somebody gives a gift to an eved, does it go to the master? Obviously, generally, anything the eved owns is owned by the master. This circumstance, someone gives it to him, and his intention is to give it to him, that it should belong to the eved. Do you say that therefore it goes to the eved and not to the master? So the Meir wants to say, the Meir holds no, it goes to the master, and the Chachamim hold yes, it goes to him, and therefore he can redeem himself with money as long as the money was given to him by someone else. So the Gemara says no. Everyone agrees that money that's given to him without any stipulations belongs to the master. Here we're discussing where it was more specific, was a higher level of exclusivity to the eved. And that's the only situation in which he can own money at all. And that is where a person gives it to him and says, I'm giving it to you on condition that it does not go to your master. There, Rabbi Meir says it doesn't matter. The condition is void because an eved can't own property and therefore it goes to the master anyway. And the Rabbanan say, no, in a case like that, he's specifically saying, I'm not putting it in your possession if it goes to the master. I'm only giving it to go to you. In a case like that, it will go to the eved and not to the master, and that's what we're talking about here. So the Gemara wants to say, so that was Rabbah. Now the Gemara says that Rabbi Elazar, the Amayra, rejects this. He says, no, even in this case, he's just making a condition. Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim will both agree that it goes to the master and not to him. We're talking about here where he never gave it to the eved to own at all. He said, listen, I'm putting this money in your hand, and you're not kind of it. It's that it belongs to me, but it's going to be redeemed. It's going to be used to buy your freedom. You're going to give it to your master, and he's going to buy your freedom. So what happens there? So there's a machlekes Gemara wants to say. Rabbi Meir says it still goes to the master because he gave it to him, and that which he said, conditions and all this stuff, it's irrelevant. He gave him the money. The eved belongs to the master. He gave it to the master, and that's it. The master owns it. And therefore, there's no way to use money given to the eved to redeem himself. The guy, if someone else wants to redeem the eved, he has to go himself. The Chachamim say no. If he's giving it to him, he's not owning it. He's saying you're not going to own it. It's like a pikadon almost. So you're going to hold on to it and you're going to give it to the master. Okay? So there, it's not being given to change ownership and go to the possession of the eved, and therefore it doesn't go to the master, and the eved can take it and redeem himself with it.